Hi, this is AJ Farzad with Successwithloa.blogspot.com, and this is a video blog post in response to a question that I got the other day in a private message. One of my readers asked, I'm curious to know, do you believe in God? And I quote, I mean, with the videos you have made about using the law of attraction, it seems you believe so much in our mental power that leaves little room for a divine being. Do you believe in that? Do you believe in prayer and divine intervention? I'm just curious to know if a true believer of LOA has any spiritual beliefs or not. I was a little bit taken back by it because I believe myself to be strongly spiritual in the one God. Then I thought perhaps this question came about because I do not use religion in my blogs, postings, or the YouTube videos that I put together. So I thought it is time to address the topic, and I really couldn't pass up on this opportunity. I have mentioned before that I can explain law of attraction from both a theological point of view as well as a scientific point of view, but I never really addressed my feelings about religion and how I actually came about to be in a very, very comfortable place when it comes to my spirituality. So once and for all, yes, I do believe in God. I do believe in prayer. In medicine, I have seen miracles that could not be explained by science alone. So I definitely do believe in divine intervention. I use this word source in my blog out of a desire not to alienate anyone. You know, source can be whatever makes you comfortable. For me, that source is God. For someone who has other beliefs, it can be anything. I didn't think, about the fact that a blog about the law of attraction has anything to do with religion. And I also do not believe that I have to force my beliefs down someone's throat. I believe in a God that is merciful and forgiving. I also believe that places of worship like mosques, churches, synagogues, temples, and even old shamans' tents are houses of God. And I have no problem worshiping in any of these places. I do not believe that if you don't believe as I do, you are damned. I do believe that we are all created equal in the image of God. As with all things universal, and this is the most important thing, as with all things universal laws, and therefore, the law of attraction are creations of a supreme being. And the fact that as human beings we can use these universal laws to our advantage is a gift. Perhaps even a divine gift. How awesome is it that we can create our reality? That doesn't indicate that we are competing with a supreme power. That's like saying that my father gave me a baseball bat, and by using it to become a good ball player, I am trying to upstage him. By learning to use the law of attraction, we are expressing gratitude for the source. How do you feel when you see a gift that you've given someone utilized well? Don't you feel proud and happy? Don't you feel exhilarated that you have chosen correctly? This, I don't believe, is a forum for my religious views, but since the topic came up, I will share a personal story about my ups and downs in my spirituality. I was born in the Middle East, in Iran. The country is almost 99% Muslim, so I was raised a Muslim. At an early age, I prayed 5 times a day even though I had no idea what I was saying. Islamic prayer is in Arabic, and since I only spoke Farsi, I really didn't understand what I was saying. But the faith was there because I saw my parents pray. And since my great-grandmother usually took care of me during the day, her views were what shaped my spirituality when I was a kid. She believed that God was responsible for everything that happens to us. She believed that God will hold our hands forever and keep us from falling. She told me that there's nothing in this world that could hurt me because God always was with me and would protect me. Now, forward a decade or two until I was at UCLA for my freshman year. The exact circumstances really escape my memory right now, but for some reason I had a rude awakening in college. I had kind of got out of high school with a 4.2 GPA. I was a jock and everything was so easy for me in high school. I didn't really have to know how to study. It just was easy. The curriculum was so easy. I'm a product of the LA Unified School District. So university's demand, however, was another matter, and I barely squeaked by during the freshman summer program. So this somehow made me conclude that I was put on this earth for comic relief of the big man upstairs. Being a scientist right now, I have no idea how the logic made sense to me, but at the time it was pretty compelling because I came up with this elaborate explanation for how religion was a facade. I figured that in the old dark ages, things were so bad that some smart guy had nothing to lose and wrote down some stuff in a book and they called it the Holy, and that was the Torah. Thousands of years later, there was again upheaval and masses were killing each other, so they said that it worked once, why don't we try it again? And they wrote some stuff that made logical sense in a book and they called it the Bible. 600 years after that, in the Arabian Peninsula, idolatry was destroying the region. So they looked back and they said it worked twice, why don't we try it again? And that holy book was called the Quran. I have read all three of these books, and I had my debates so well rehearsed that God forgive me. When some nice young person approached me and asked me, have I found God? I would sit them down, listen to them, and then proceed to rip their theory apart. And at times, I even send them away in tears. Of course, I really didn't have any real challenge debating any scholars. But for some reason, as I wallowed in my own pity, I could not really see other people happy in their faith. Then I went to school, to medical school in St. Martin because I did not get accepted in the United States. So my semester began during one of the worst hurricane seasons experienced in that region, and for 2 years the island was pounded repeatedly with hurricane, and people's lives, homes, and belongings would end up in the middle of the ocean. But do you know what they would do? They would always say that God will provide and would go on rebuilding. I couldn't really understand that kind of a faith. So here I was on a 34 square mile island with people whose entire reality would be this little rock, never seeing any other part of the world, never having the comfort and the technological advances that I had. But nevertheless, they would be much happier than I was at that time. How could this possibly be true? The more I talked to people as I bounced at one of the local nightclubs to make extra money while I was in school over there, the more I started to think that there has to be more. I would then go back and work on cadavers, study the human body, and could not marvel at how precise and how intricate the whole system was. 2 years later, I had gone through one of the hardest experiences of my life, but I also had developed a faith that could not be shaken. Everything up to that point slowly started to make sense 5 years after I returned from England after my last clinical rotation. Even though I didn't pass my medical school boards and eventually gave up on the dream of being a surgeon, everything suddenly made sense. I was so comfortable with my faith and the belief that God indeed does provide me with everything and will never and has never ever let me fall. And that at that time I was finally open to receive the information regarding the law of attraction. And that forever changed my life. So that's pretty much the story of do I, as AJ Farzad, believe in God. Yes, I do believe in God, but this will probably be the only time that I express it in this blog because it's not a forum for my religious discussions. This is a forum for you to learn how to succeed, and the law of attraction is only a tool for you to be able to take advantage of. During my seminars, book signings, things like that, if you want to come up and chat with me, I will be more than happy to discuss this with you. I have written a lot of different things about how I explain law of attraction from both the scientific point of view as well as a spiritual and theological point of view. But then again, if you are spiritual and if you do believe in a higher power, you don't really need any explanation of why the law of attraction works, right? So I hope this kind of answers the question for the person that asked me this in a more in-depth forum than I actually send back to you personally, and I hope it actually answers questions for all the readers. Thank you so much. I welcome your comments, and please share this with anyone that may benefit from it. Until next Tuesday, to your success.